So I titled my sermon today, What I Did on My Summer Vacation. Now remember when you were back in school and the first assignment you did for your new teacher was an essay about your summer vacation? I suspect it allowed the new teacher to not only assess your writing skills, but also to learn a little bit about you and your family dynamics right at the very beginning of the year. And also provide that kind of point of engagement in which the teacher and student relationship was allowed to grow. It was an excellent tool to get to know someone. It is always a privilege to get to know another person as they invite you into their world through the sharing of stories and experiences. And from that connection, a relationship can blossom and grow. And so, friends, please allow me to share with you what I did on my summer vacation. I have been away for 3 weeks I was away for 3 Sundays, I guess I should say. And that is probably the most vacation I have taken in one chunk in over a decade. Usually when I'm away that long, it's because I have tacked my vacation on to the end of a conference or some kind of study leave. But this time, other than, a couple little half days, a couple hours here and there when I worked, it was all vacation time. A chance to rest and relax and revive my soul. And I use the term rest kind of as a relative term because, relatives kept me busy. And because, of course, the timing of my vacation was dictated by our youngest daughter's wedding, as you can see in the picture up there. Now, when our daughters Zoe and Rebecca got married, I drove to the Maritimes fairly last minute, and I didn't have the opportunity to attend bridal showers or dress fittings or all those pieces that should be afforded to the mother of the bride or the stepmother of the bride. But this time, with Rachel, I was blessed to be a part of all of those pieces. I flew down with our grandson, and then Reverend Bill and Victoria joined me after VBS finished on the Tuesday night. And let me just take this opportunity to say a special thanks to Fran and to John for filling in and preaching for me over the last few weeks, as well as to all of you who worked with them to make the worship services run smoothly. I am very blessed to have such capable and loving congregation, so that allowed me to be able to do all those things. And the wedding, my friends, it was beautiful. The day was perfect, not too hot, not a drop of rain, and we were outdoors in the park. You can kind of see it behind us. We're at Victoria Park in Toronto, Nova Scotia, and I got to walk my daughter down the aisle with her dad, and then watch as she and her beloved stood before Reverend Bill to exchange their vows. But one of the special things that I really want to share with you folks about that day was the people who gathered. Because the people who gathered together are important. On that day, there were my children and my grandchildren and my siblings, my nieces and nephews and their children. There was my ex-husband and his wife and his mother and stepfather and all of his siblings and kids. Bill's ex-wife Lynn was there with our children. Friends came from far and wide. Reverend Brian, our minister emeritus, was there with his wife Jenny. There were former Sunday school kids that grew up with my kids, churches in Nova Scotia and in New Brunswick, and kids here from Ontario. One of our former Sunday school kids sang. And you know what, friends? You know what? I hugged every single one of them. It was just so great to see them. Nova Scotia is a little farther ahead in their COVID stuff, and I got to hug every single person, whether they were just in my family from the last few years or they were part of my family, former mother-in-laws, and I just hugged them all. I even hugged all my new son-in-law's family that I had just met on that day. Because on that day, we were all family. On that day, we were all united in our love for Rachel and Nathan. And that is a kind of community that we strive to be here at St. John Stevensville United Church. We are connected in all kinds of different ways. Some of us have been best friends for life. Some have newer friends. Some of us may even have a strained relationship with one another because of some sort of shared history, and we bring that baggage, and that's okay too. But we are all here. Some of us are new to the community, and we're still finding our place. But we're here, and we're part of this family. And making new friends is hard, we know that. We tell the kids to be friendly and, talk to the one that's kind of sitting alone, make them feel welcome, and that goes for us too. It's hard, particularly after such a prolonged period of shutdown. But we need to engage with one another, because while we are here, we are all children of God. And we come together in this place because we are united in our love for Jesus Christ. Our gospel reading from this morning, the reading from Mark, tells of an argument that broke out between Jesus between Jesus' disciples about who was the greatest. Who did Jesus like best? Who was the most important in the mission and ministry, so on and so forth? The disciples, you see, they were all excited about Jesus' ministry. So excited that they had left behind their previous lives just to be a part of that ministry. And they all wanted to be invaluable to Jesus. They wanted to be the best disciple they could be. They wanted to be the greatest of the disciples. But then Jesus reminds them that being a follower of him was not going to be about being exalted. Being a follower of Jesus was going to be about being humble enough to serve those who were in need. And then as the story goes on, Jesus picks up a small child and holds the child in his arms and tells the disciple that whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. Their mission, their ministry was to welcome and to care for the vulnerable in the world. Later, they would be told to feed the hungry, to heal the sick, to visit those who were in prison. They were to love not just those who were lovable, but also to love those who were less than lovable. Being a welcoming community is how we share our love for Jesus and our love for the God of all creation. And sometimes we do that quite instinctively, and sometimes we need to be taught. We learn in community, and we learn from the community. One of the best parts of my summer vacation was to introduce some of the people I loved to the people I loved. It was great to have the younger generation sit and hear the stories of the older generation, and have those stories of the older generation become part of the younger generation's family stories. We shared stories of loved ones who are no longer with us, funny stories and sad stories. And we instilled a sense of responsibility for family members that they didn't always know that well or had just met. but they were responsible for because they were their family. We looked at photographs and smiled. We laid flowers on graves and cried. It connected the generations. This morning was so great to have our Sunday school kids return to this sanctuary. We did 3 terms of online Sunday school, accompanied by hand-delivered activity packages. And so we rejoice that our children and youth can once again be worship in-house with us, and it is our responsibility to welcome them as part of our love for Jesus. To welcome them, to care for their needs, to teach them the core of our Christian beliefs. And the ways in which we teach are just as important as what we teach. The younger generation of the church will learn from our example. It is here that they will learn the ways in which Christians love and care for not just ourselves, but others, and the way that we care for the world around us. And we will share stories from the Bible that's part of their heritage as children of God. Some stories are proud stories, and some are sad stories. But we'll teach them as honestly as we can. We will teach them about the history of our denomination because that is part of their heritage as well. And some are proud stories and some are sad stories. And we will teach them as honestly as we can. And we will pray for our children. We will pray for their parents. We will endeavor to connect our congregation to the generations of Christians who built this congregation. We will pray for our faith community and our wider community. We will pray for the outreach ministries of this church, some of whom you heard about in our announcements this morning. We will pray that we uphold the love of God in the ministries that show God's love for our neighbors in practical ways. And you know, it may really seem like an overused metaphor in churches, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. We are truly family because we are all the beloved children of God. And for that family, that sometimes overwhelms us with joy and sometimes exasperates us, we say, thanks be to God. Amen.